Mr. Speaker, let's talk about the debate.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
The bar was set very low for Joe Biden, and he didn't quite make it. And those aren't my words. Those are the Democrats. Now, let's watch a little bit of what happened on Thursday night.
Every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday you suggested that the 25th Amendment should be invoked. Now you have the New York Times editorial board saying that he should step aside. You've got the Time magazine cover of him walking off the page. After what you saw, and certainly your reaction, do you think he's really running the country at this point?
I don't. I haven't thought that for quite some time. You know, I'm in an interesting position because I spent a lot of time with President Trump. I was with him the week before the debate and talked with him a few days before. But I also have spent time, of course, with the president because I'm the Speaker of the House. The current president is not on his A game. I take no pleasure in saying this because what we're watching here is a dangerous display. Our enemies, our adversaries around the world are watching this just as we are. And that's the reason that Iran and Russia and China and North Korea have all formed this new axis of evil. They're acting provocatively because they see weakness projected on the world stage. We can't afford to do this any longer. And I have been saying for some time that I don't think President Biden is actually running the country. I think there's a small group of advisors. Many of them are very progressive leftists who are trying to push their various agendas. And they put things in front of him to sign that he's not even fully aware of. And, you know, this has been going on for a while. We've been ringing the alarms for a while. It's kind of surprising to me that it took people this long to catch on. But that's because there was a false narrative being pushed forward every day by White House staffers and Democrats in Congress trying to tell people that what they were seeing was not true. Forget your lying eyes. And now the truth is out there on display, and now they're reacting to it.
It was called the Biden-Bernie Sanders unity agenda, and that seems to be, that 110 pages has seemed to have been the Bible for this administration when it comes to public policy, regardless of whatever Biden was saying during the 2020 election.
That's right.
I want to move on to foreign policy for a second here, because you just touched on it. You and Chuck Schumer have invited the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to address a joint session of Congress later in July. There are Democrats that are already saying that they are going to boycott. You stood on the steps of Columbia University. You took booze for a half hour, but you went there. You've seen this acceptance of anti-Semitism within the Democratic establishment be excused. Pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, anti-Jew, anti-Americanism, and it's kind of being explained away. Your thoughts on this dramatic shift that we've seen in just the last number of months?
This is exactly how I describe it. I mentioned I've been traveling all around the country, and I go to blue states and swing districts and places that we're not always expected to be. And there's a great joy in that because we're seeing a demographic shift in the country. We have a record number of Hispanic and Latino voters coming into the Republican Party, record number of black voters, African Americans who are coming enthusiastically into the party because they want solutions. And the Jewish community is so animated. Why? Because they see that President Biden and the Democrat Party are abandoning Israel. They're actually siding with the wrong side here. You know, this is good versus evil. It's light versus darkness. Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies of Iran. This is an evil terrorist regime. They want to take Israel down, and they would like to take down America as well. We need elected officials like Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden and the rest to speak with moral clarity in this moment. We have to do this. I had to drag Chuck Schumer kicking and screaming over the line to sign the letter to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to address Congress.
And he's claims to be Jewish.
He boasts that he's the highest elected official in U.S. history that is Jewish, and yet he tries to play both sides in this conflict because they have a political problem. There is a pro-Palestinian, I say pro-Hamas wing in the Democrat Party now, and it's going to have serious effects, I think, on the election in November.
Another example of what we've seen in terms of this shift that you're talking about, where we're really now in the sort of battle of civilizations, is the left's fidelity to this transgender movement, even at the expense of the privacy of women and girls in locker rooms, bathrooms, all of their private spaces. Will the GOP in the next Congress pass legislation that will protect a woman's right to privacy from abuse from biological men and from that invasion?
It's a top priority. We have to do it. It's the right thing to do, of course. It also comports with our history and tradition and common sense. The Biden administration has tried to eviscerate Title IX, which is a protection for women and girls, and to allow them to compete safely in their own athletics competitions. They use the Department of Education, just like they weaponize so many other agencies, to really disrupt the order, the foundations of the country. And we've had enough, and so have the people. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary, or 52nd anniversary of Title IX now, and we want to go back and restore that to its original intent and stop the madness. That's what's happening. You're endangering women and girls now, subjecting them to all sorts of horrors, and we should not be doing that. And the American people are with us. Let me tell you, the radical, woke, progressive left pushed that pendulum so far, so quickly, that it clicked, and it's starting to come back, and that's a great thing to see.
Mr. Speaker, I've talked to a lot of people in Washington about you, and there's one word that keeps coming up every time, and that's decent. People think you're a decent man. How does a decent man deal with the level of indecency that we see in Washington, which is perhaps worse than at any other point in our lifetime?
Well, the way we deal with all that is that we stick to our core principles. You know, I talk a lot about what I call the 7 core principles of American conservatism, but they're really the 7 core principles of America itself. We believe in individual freedom and limited government and the rule of law, and peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity. This is an important part of who we are in America. We're coming up on our birthday this week, July 4th, 248 years as a constitutional republic, a grand experiment in self-governance. We don't know how long the republic can endure, but we do know what the founders said was going to be so important for us to do that. Washington, our first president, the father of our country, said, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. And then John Adams comes next. He says, our Constitution is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. They understood that decency had to be an important component of who we are. If we're going to have a government of, by, and for the people, and we know that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and men are fallen and in need of order to not have chaos, then you have to have a basic moral consensus in the country to keep it going. And that's what we're trying to stand for. We're doing what previous generations of Americans did and said. It's just not common anymore, but it must be part of who we are.
You know, a lot of Americans are still getting to know you. You're shepherding this slim majority. There are, of course, sources in Washington who say, no matter what this guy does this year, he's going to get a challenge in January. Why are you the right man to lead in this job at this moment in history of the People's House?
Well, I'm not into self-promotion, and it's not really, to me, about the right man. It's about the right vision, you know. There's a passage of Scripture, since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Without vision, the people perish. And I have a very clear vision about where we need to go and who we are as a nation. We're in a battle right now between 2 completely different worldviews. You know, what is America? Who are we? How do we maintain our status as the last great superpower? I know the path to do that. And it's what Reagan said in his farewell address. He said, they call me the great communicator. He said, I really wasn't. I'm paraphrasing him. I was just communicating great things. They're the same great things that have guided our nation since its founding. I believe in those great things. I believe we're stewards of them, and I have a vision on how to get us through. I think my colleagues appreciate that, and if it's God's will, I'll still be the Speaker, and I think Donald Trump's going to be the President. I think we're going to have the majority in the Senate. We have a lot of really hard work, very important work to do, and we have to do it quickly. And so we've got to have a plan, a playbook ready to implement. That's what we're working on right now. I'm really excited about the prospect of that, and I'm very bullish on the future of America.